All right, it is Monday night, the 14th of July, 2025, 9:55, not quite sky dark. We did have a little smoke here earlier in the evening. I heard a fire uh, call going out from the local fire um, group, firehouse. We're looking at, of course, a globular cluster, which should be quite recognizable. I've used it to set up the focus and to properly align the scope for the rest of the evening studies. And we are going to begin with the NGC 6000 and just pretty much work with studies that are culminating overhead on this beautiful, maybe not quite beautiful, summer's night in July of 2025. Okay, right now we're operating at a 5-second exposure time using Zero Imager ASI, not live, but however, I'm using this primarily to set up the scope to make sure it go too accurately. But we should be looking at NGC 6000 at roughly 150x, means we're off by about 10 to 15 arc minutes. I do believe this is NGC 6000. It's a galaxy in Scorpius. Magnitude 12.2, 1.9 by 1.6 football shaped galaxy, spiral with a bar and lowercase bc, 1.5 times removed from mature lenticular spiral stacks. Microsoft snipping tool on this current laptop has let me down again. I just did 14 minutes of video of real-time imaging of galaxies in particular. Most were in Serpens, and the result was I only got 1.90 seconds out of some 14 minutes of imaging. So it's all been lost. I'm just going to go on from here. What we should be seeing here now at 10-second exposure times is NGC 6022, Galaxy in Serpens. Its magnitude 14.7, zero point 0.7 by zero point 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, and a ring or an annularity. 501 million light years distant means this one's probably about 125,000 light years in diameter. It's unclear as to whether our 14.7 magnitude galaxy is this one or this one. I would say it depends on whether this 14.7 is blue violet, which means it would be brighter by, since it's BC, it would be about magnitude 14.2, or whether it actually is 14.7, possibly that one there. So let's go ahead. We're at right ascension, 15 hours, 57 minutes, 47 seconds, with a declination of plus 16 degrees, 16 minutes, and 55 seconds. What we may be seeing here is a pair of galaxies, one of which is NGC 6027. It's a galaxy in Serpens at magnitude 14.3, 1.9 by 1 arc minutes in size, spiral with peculiarities 204 million light years distant. The other one is 6027A, magnitude 13.9, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 197 million light years distant, right ascension 15 hours, 59 minutes, 11 seconds, and a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, and 17 seconds. There is also a 6027b, which is magnitude 15.5, smaller, 0.4 by 0.3 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 187 million light years distant. And because I did not memorize the distances, I can't tell whether they're line of sight or not. It is at right ascension 15 hours, 59 minutes, 10 seconds, and a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, and 43 seconds. So there we have it, several faintish galaxies in the middle of the field. I might just play with histogram settings. Brings it out quite nicely there. So pick your favorite. The faintest is magnitude 15.5, and I think the brightest is around magnitude 14. Well, how about that? There is also an NGC 6027C in Serpens. It is rated as magnitude 16.9 by zero point 0.2 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase c, 207 million light years distant. Pretty much line of sight because that's about 30 million light years more distant than the previous, which I believe was 6027b. Once again, right ascension, 15 hours, 59 minutes, 11 seconds, with a declination plus 20 degrees, 44 minutes, and 49 seconds. So pick and choose. Certainly 3 galaxies there. Possibility of one of these also being oh, here's one that looks very suggestive for our 16th magnitude faint companion. Right there. I have now learned there is also an NGC 6027D. Magnitude 15.5, quite tight, 0.2 by 0.2 arc minutes, spiral with some peculiarities. 885 million light years distant, obviously line of sight. Right ascension, 15 hours, 59 minutes, 13 seconds, with a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, 35 seconds. I think this grouping of more or less line of sight galaxies warrants spending some time using longer exposure times. Let's give it a shot. Okay, this is a 60-second multi-stack exposure with the tracking being a bit off. Everything has been troubled. We're seeing 3 versions of stars all over the screen. 60 seconds isn't working with the observatory scope in Penti because there's just too much disturbance in the floor and the tracking may be slightly at variance. However, we did want to have a look just to see. Now, I want to point out that there are actually A, B, C, D, E, F, 5 galaxies in this series of galaxies. So having had a look at 60 seconds at NGC 60027 through F, that would be 6 actually, because this is not considered A. Let's go ahead and have a 30-second exposure next. So here we go with the data on NGC 6027, a series of galaxies in Serpens. NGC 6027 is magnitude 14.3. I believe it's the brightest, 1.9 by 1 arc minute, spiral with peculiarities, 204 million light years distant, puts it at about 120,000 light years in diameter. It's at right ascension, 15 hours, 59 minutes, 12 seconds, with a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, and 47 seconds. Now, as I step through this series, it's possible that the right ascension and declination will be slightly measured to be slightly different, so I will want to quote that as well. NGC 6027A, also in Serpens, is the brightest of them. Magnitude 13.9, but also slightly smaller, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 197 million light years distant. It's smaller, maybe 50,000 light years in diameter. It's at right ascension, 15 hours, 59 minutes, 11 seconds, with a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, and 17 seconds. NGC 6027b is a galaxy once again in Serpens, fainter, magnitude 15.5, smaller, 0.4 by 0.3 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 187 million light years distant. Light ascension is 15 hours, 59 minutes, and 10 seconds, with a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, and 43 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and do some more zoomage on this. I'm going to push it up to 70%, which is probably somewhere around 200x. Now we'll go on to NGC 6027c, galaxy in Serpens. This one's even fainter, magnitude 16.9 by 0.2 arc minutes, so it should present as an edge-on galaxy. I see at least one there and a fainter one that may also present that way. 200, it's a spiral with a lowercase c, 207 million light years distant, puts it at about 60,000 light years in diameter. Its right ascension is 15 hours, 59 minutes, 11 seconds, and it has a declination of plus 20 degrees, 44 minutes, and 49 seconds. I'm going to step back a little bit, sharpen up the image, and pause. Oh, let's step on. NGC 6027D, another galaxy in Serpens, is magnitude 15.5, but very small, therefore quite intense. 0.2 by 0.2 arc-minute spiral with peculiarities. This is the most distant galaxy thus far. It is 885 million light years distant, but it's probably only about 60,000 light years in diameter, given its small apparent size. It's got a right ascension of 15 hours, 59 minutes, 13 seconds, and a declination of plus 20 degrees, 45 minutes, and 35 seconds. NGC 6027E is maybe the brightest and the most condensed. Magnitude 13.4, 0.8 by 0.4 arc-minute 2-to-1 lenticular spiral, 193 million light years distant, probably about 60,000 light years in diameter, has a right ascension of 15 hours, 59 minutes, and 14 seconds, with a declination of 20 degrees, positive 45 minutes, and 58 seconds. That will be it for the 6027 series, and I suspect it will probably get truncated because it took several minutes to go all the way through them. It's now almost 11 o'clock. I'll probably put in a couple more minutes of deep sky real-time imaging. We're going to start with NGC 6058, a planetary nebula in Hercules. It's magnitude 13, which is quite faint, 25 by 20 arc seconds in diameter. The central star, however, is only 0.9 magnitudes fainter at 13.9. This particular planetary is 11,500 light years distant, so about 10 times the distance of the Ring Nebula. It's at right ascension 16 hours, 4 minutes, 26 seconds, with a declination of plus 40 degrees, 40 minutes, and 58 seconds. We are getting a bit of aperture block from the roof of the observatory. So what I'm going to do now is just continue to step through. This is our 150x. I'm going to double it to 100%. We're going to go to 100% zoom. You can see the central star. You can see the planetary nebula. We're obviously looking at it from the pole, I believe. I have to give it some more thought. So here is our view of NGC 6058. Let's do a few more before knocking off this evening. It's now almost 11 o'clock. What we have here is a rather interesting galaxy, given its relationship between its size and its magnitude. This is NGC 6069, galaxy in Corona Borealis. Its magnitude 15.5, but I suspect that's probably its blue violet. It is almost 1 by 1 arc minutes, 0.9 by 0.9 arc minutes in apparent size, a lenticular spiral, 512 million light years distant, puts this very large lenticular spiral about 150,000 light years in diameter. We are at right ascension 16 hours, 7 minutes, 41 seconds, with a declination of plus 38 degrees, 55 minutes, 50 seconds. I do not believe we're getting any aperture block, but the galaxy is quite apparent to my eye right there. Let's go ahead. This is 150x. Let's push it up to 100, and we can make out the galaxy of lenticular type with a brightish core and a faint aura around it. So this is what roughly 15.5 magnitudes, or we'll call it 15 magnitude, average surface brightness galaxy appears to look like with an exposure time of 10 seconds, which basically comes down to somewhere around, I believe, somewhere around, let's see, 0.25, 1 second is 12, 5 seconds is 24, for about a 50-inch aperture eyepiece scope. So there is our look at NGC 6069. Here we have what is probably going to be our final view of the evening. NGC 6070 is a galaxy in Serpens, magnitude 11.8. 2-to-1 aspect ratio, 3.6 by 1.8 arc minutes, and spiral of the C class. Barely discernible core with extension luminosity going to the 12 and 6 o'clock positions on the screen. The galaxy is 90 million light years away, so it's probably about 75,000 light years in diameter. It's at right ascension, 16 hours, 9 minutes, 58 seconds, and right pretty much on the celestial equator at 0 degrees, 42 minutes, and 32 seconds. Obviously warrants some magnification. We can see its extensions there, but I think we'll also go ahead before we knock off and increase the exposure time to the maximum, which is 30 seconds before we start seeing stellar duplications of images. Well, here we're getting doublets on the screen, a 30-second exposure time, but here is our NGC 6070 galaxy in Serpens, as I mentioned before, largest 3.6 by 1.8 arc minutes with a magnitude of 11.8. And with that, I'm going to say carpe noctem.